we get all the fun stuff. So welcome to 2022. I mean, I think it's a sequel to 2020, but you're definitely the first person on Miscellanea this year, so welcome.
Yes. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
How was the holiday? How was your holiday?
Oh, sorry. I'm just taking off my internet to make sure I don't have any connection issues.
No worries.
Holiday's been great. Holiday's been, it's good. Still going. I'm not, the business is always running, so I'm always working, but I haven't started back with any clients yet. So just running the business right now. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of different things I think we can touch on, but let's start with your superhuman origin story. What kind of brought you to today, got you into what you're into, and in the process, you can tell people kind of what you do.
Let's see. Well, I'm co-owner of two businesses. So one is called Be Elite. Okay. And we focus on something called stress-reduced fat loss. That's a system we created. And it's a system where we evaluate different stressors that clients have. So they could be emotional, they could be chemical, they could be sleep-related, hormonal, gut-related. We evaluate them using different intakes. Okay. And once we find out what those top stressors are, then we provide solutions to them using nutrition, lifestyle, supplements, movement, that kind of thing. So we've been doing that for, quite some time, I'd say almost 15, 20 years. And then we started the transformation mentorship with some other business partners as well. And that's where we teach students the stress-reduced fat loss system and how to get their business running using that system. So it's about a 3 to 6 month. Now it's going to be a 6-month mentorship as of this year, where students can now learn how to help clients online, holistic transformations, fixing gut issues, so on, helping clients digest better, sleep better. So that's really where my business is at right now. How did I get there? Well, I would say growing up, I was fortunate. I think both my parents were nurses. They're both from Trinidad. And I would say they had a great way of teaching us about eating well, making our own food, making sure we sleep at certain times, cleaning our system out throughout the year, watching for toxins and chemicals. I grew up learning these things, which is kind of interesting. If we went somewhere, the food was packed. But then I always had eczema and skin issues when I was younger. Always using these creams and these, cortisone creams. And my mom and dad would be like, these aren't great. You want to use them sparingly. They really thin out your skin to get pushed into your body. And over time, as you get older, I say your system gets weaker. And my body was telling me signs, but I wasn't sure what they meant. Skin was getting drier, waking up in the middle of the night, different signs, right? Joint pain. And then I had a little bit of stress, I guess, as some people do, as you start your own business and go through life and leave corporate life. My system kind of went, exploded. Skin went crazy, ended up in the hospital, no skin on my face. Doctors like, what's going on? What's him? Who is this guy? Like, what has he got? And they're all whispering, like 5 of them, just sitting here like a skinless creature, like with a hood on. I'm like, I think I have some reactions to foods and the grass and stuff. And like, shut up. They told me to shut up. And they said, I said, shut up. And they said, you have impetigo. That's what you have. So they gave me antibiotics. I was like, I'm not arguing. So I had my face bandaged, antibiotics, dragging around at home, nurse coming in, changing my bandages. And after that, I started really diving into it, saying, what's going on with my body? Like, why did it do that? Because obviously they don't know what it is. So I started diving deeper into things like gut health, food reactions, food sensitivities, and started on my journey to try to heal this issue, because I literally looked like a crocodile, man. I was literally just like, all these rashes and skins, and you'd eat food and then I'd be like, going crazy. My skin would burn from the inside out. I'd be drinking Benadryl for days at a time, like, completely like zoned out. So it was a horrible time. But finding different teachers, different people to help me. I worked with Charles Pollock and started studying with him, doing things like biosignature and learning about the body a little bit more. Did some study with Paul Chek, started studying Qigong medicine, and just kept going, just kept diving and trying. And over years, that's how I started finding my way and realizing, hey, I think I can heal from this. I think this isn't a set thing. I don't need cortisone creams. I think my late 30s, I stopped using them. And again, my system erupted just from not knowing like how to work for the first time in its life. So, but then getting it under control, studying more, learning, sleeping better, digesting better water. Yeah, and that's really what got me here and realizing I want other people to know. I don't want anyone to ever be told that you can't heal or you can't get better, because you can't. You just got to give the body what it needs and be patient, and it will turn around. So that's really where we got into it. My business partner bought it. Similar story, issues with himself, insulin, other things. So we came together that way and said, we want people to learn these things. And that's how we got here. So
it's really beautiful. I mean, it reminds me of like psychology. A lot of psychologists, we get into psychology because we need a psychologist, right? And it's a lot of people get into health. I know I lived with a woman for years, and she had a soy allergy, and soy is in freaking everything, right?
Yeah.
So it's that really opened my eyes. I've always been big about mental health and kind of spiritual health, and when I was younger I was into martial arts, so like physical health was just kind of natural, but through my 20s I kind of put the physical health off to the side. And then meeting her, I started thinking more about like what you put in your body and how it comes out, right? And in terms of, you literally are what you eat. Your cells are taking from the food that we eat to become what they are, right? So it really put it into my mind that it mattered a lot what we're ingesting. The McDonald's, the KFCs, all that kind of garbage that we love because it tastes good. It's really, really wreaking havoc on our bodies. And I was amazed. Like, it didn't take long. It was only like a few weeks of, eating the way that she ate. And I think at that time she was pretty vegetarian. So I had kind of done a bit of a vegetarian thing, but just the detox, the clean out. I've also experimented with the carnivore diet on the other side of it. So it's really amazing what your body will do once it's like limited to that one thing, or you start eliminating things out of it. And all of those immune responses that we're having that we don't really realize that we're having, I think that's, should be a little bit more in our education system, especially, I think today we're kind of seeing it, which I'm sure we'll get to. But I love transformation. And that's the one reason I've been following you, is like seeing those pictures of people on one side where they started and where they end up. Like, that is absolutely beautiful to me. I think it's so inspiring for people to know that, there's always a way to heal.
There is, and that's so true. I remember being a kid reading my parents' psychology books. My dad worked for the Ministry of Health for many years, and my mom being a nurse, and looking at that, and then getting into neuroscience, to my degree in neuroscience. So, coming from that side of things, understanding the brain, how it fires, that kind of work, and then getting into Reiki. And then doing energy work and going like, wow. Seeing the other side of being a scientist and seeing, hey, I put my hands on someone and wow, I see the trauma they're going through. That's wow. I can see that. I can feel it. And bringing the two together was mind blasting for me. I was like, wow, there's so much more out there than just what we think, So
what does the common story for you look like? Like, what's kind of when people come to you looking for their transformation, usually what is the first thing that they're looking for from you?
I find the first thing is they really understand why. Why is this happening? I think that is the biggest stressor for most people, is I just don't know why. I'm okay with it being here, but why is it here? And no one can tell me why. And I think that's the number one thing people walk in doors. If you can explain why, at least I'll calm down. I'll feel better knowing that I'm not a freak. I'm not like some misdiagnosed person, right? So that's the first thing, is the why. I think, and the second thing is, okay, now that I know why, like, what do I do? Like, how long is it going to take? Is it forever? Is it like 3 months? Like, what do I got to do? Because that's the next part. So really answering these two things for people puts them at ease, because I wanted to be understood. The first time someone said, oh, I understand why you're having, I used to have the pigment around my mouth used to be almost, I wouldn't say your color, but it was getting there. And that was this is a large intestine area we see in Chinese medicine. And from damage to a large intestine and stress, this part of my area started changing, the skin there, pigment. So then when the first time I went to somebody, goes, oh yeah, look, that's the large intestine meridian, goes up, goes behind the knee. My knee, I was having knee issues. Yeah, your knee right there goes behind the back and then goes around the mouth. And I was like, so I make sense. He's like, yeah, for sure. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn this. Everyone needs to understand this, because, that was how many years of wondering, why is my knee giving out? Why is this happening? So but why I find is so important for people.
Were you always athletic? Like, did you play sports in school? Did you always lift weights? I mean, you're pretty jacked these days, so.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, always in sports, always like, like track and field and soccer, and I did martial arts, same with you, taekwondo my whole life, and, then got into judo when I was older, so I watched my dad work out when I was younger, and him being jacked and outrunning the other dads. And I'm like, man, when I'm a dad, I want to have more than hair in my face. I want to look jacked like my dad. So that was just my story. My story was that's what a man looks like. So I started working out as well, right? Because of my dad. My mom could beat me in a race, and I was probably the fastest kid in my school till I was 16. So my mom was athletic too. So I was like, I grew up around like that's what you do, so my story.
Good times. How did you feel once you kind of started were you working out before you kind of discovered these ways to heal yourself as well?
Yeah, I was working up for a while, and I was like, I didn't have these issues didn't happen. I think I started working out when I was 18, 19, and I didn't really, my system didn't really crack open, I think, till I was in my 30s, like late 30s, right? So almost late 30s, yeah.
How did those discoveries help working out? Probably quite significantly.
It did, because, I remember in my 30s having joint pain, like squatting down, to pick up my kids and being like, ugh, when I get up, and like all the little aches and pains that were there. And I was in good shape, but I couldn't sprint anymore back then. I was just lifting weights. And then being in my 40s, sprinting again, no joint pain, squatting down, like elbows fine, all these things different. And I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So that was different for me. It's not like I was lifting lighter when I got older, lifting almost the same. So it's like, it's not an intensity. It just must be these things. So it just gave me better recovery. It gave me better longevity. I think I add another probably 15, 20 years of training I'll probably be able to do that I don't think I would have got through before.
That is awesome in and of itself. It's like turning back the clock a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other part of it too, is the amount of energy that our body is burning in order to get rid of all this toxicity that we're putting into it is another thing that people don't really think about, right? Like they're like, why am I tired all the time? Like, why don't I have any energy? Why don't I have any motivation? Your body's busy. Your body's busy trying to fix all of this damage you're doing to yourself. And, if you mitigate that damage, if you take that away, then your body frees up all this extra energy and you'll feel better. So on that topic, talk to us about sleep, because I'm a person who, like, I used to just exist on 4 hours of sleep a day, like years and years and years, 4 hours of sleep. And I never really thought there was a problem with it until I adjusted my lifestyle in such a way where I could sleep, 6 to 8 hours a night. And then all of a sudden, all of this like transformation started happening just simply from the sleep. So
sleep is like, Shane, I always say we are vampires without the insiders. We need to sleep. We need restorative sleep. We repair everything then, think of it like a lot of us think as long as we close our eyes and wake up, we've slept. And I remember my dad pulling me aside once. And again, I always laugh. I said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to plug you guys forever. I spent, tens of thousands of dollars on education just to learn what you guys taught me for free. And I remember them saying, Ken, it's when you sleep that matters, not the sleep, it's when. And he's like, make sure, try to get to bed 10 o'clock. And sure enough, studies show 10 to 2 a.m., we are repairing the body. All repairs, the stomach, the muscles, the gut, everything's getting rebuilt at 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. 2 to 5 a.m., brain starts to get repaired. Emotions, take us from hypervigilance, restoring neurotransmitters. So it's like, we can see now, if we don't sleep at these times, we don't get these great benefits. Different organs are getting, regenerated during these times. Specifically, like 10 to 1, we're working on the pancreas, which handles insulin, digestion. So for up late, I'm a low GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that, kind of can give you more, if it's low, can give you more anxiety, more worrying. But I'm a low GABA guy. So my brain turns on at night. I'm like, ooh, I'm a night owl. I love to do things, and I always thought that's just who I am. But after working on it, if I'm staying up late, I'm cutting into that 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. time. I'm missing repair, which means over time, maybe my ability to handle carbs starts to go out the window, even though I'm eating great. So that's a game changer. 1 to 3, we're cleaning that liver out. cleaning it. So people got their sweats at night or their hot sleep, even male or female, they're sweating between 1 to 3. Their liver is just backed up. 3 to 5, we're trying to take chemical that sits in fat cells, switch it to a watery substance. We call it hydrophilic. So you can pee, poo, and sweat things out. That's our detox time. We need antioxidants for that. We need glutathione. We need methylated B vitamins. We need these things. And then 5 to 7, most of us are awake, but 5 to 7, if you're still sleeping, that's your adrenal time. In Chinese medicine, we call it triple warmer, which is keeping the system, the furnaces in your body under control. So when we're nervous or agitated, the furnaces burn and then we're up. So just repairing those. So sleep that's your game changer. And I think, I know for me, when I was a kid, there was just alarm clocks with those little flip up things, and they'd make a little sound throughout the night, and they'd flip up, and Back to the Future, people laugh at me, my age, right? But now it's cell phones. So that is a major disruptor of our sleep. So that's sleep. We can get your sleep back. You're a vampire. You live for not forever, but for a lot longer.
When it comes to the disruption of the sleep, are you talking like the blue light and things like that we're exposing ourselves to?
Yeah, like eating at 9 o'clock and going to bed at 10. Like digestion slows usually around 7:38. So eating late. Yeah, blue light, like you said. Like even just dimming lights in the house. Like I tried this with my family. I go, guys, let's just see if we can start dimming the lights like when you guys were kids. When my kids were young, I said we used to turn the lights down. Why do we do that? It's easier to get to bed, less stimulus, right? Like looking at our phone and then going to bed right away. It's like your brain's stimulated for hours after. So having a cell phone right by our head or plugging it in or Wi-Fi, all these things will push our nervous system into flight or fight. And that is not a repair, sleep, relax system. That's our aging process there. So those little things, we can get some of those things out of the way, and we can definitely get better, deeper sleep. So
I think there's something to eating on a schedule as well, because I've always thought I remember the first time I ever asked or figured out where breakfast comes from, right? Because we say it breakfast, but it's actually break fast. And like that idea of like breaking a fast, because I had an aunt who would always eat her breakfast in the afternoon, like later afternoon, right? And I remember asking her when I was really young, like, why do you do that? She's like, well, break fast is whenever you take it, whenever you're breaking your fast. I break mine in the afternoon. She told me about intermittent fasting. So, which I personally have a shit ton of success with. Like my body doesn't feel right unless I do it, to be honest, at this point. Maybe I've trained it that way or maybe it's just what's right for me. But either way, how do you feel about eating on schedules?
I think you're correct. Like, everyone's different, and we also need different things at different times. So, there is a time when some people may need to fast more. Some bodies work more efficiently with a longer fasting window. Other people don't. And being able to listen to your body and go, where I am in my life right now, fasting, I think, is a good thing. And that may change 4 months down the road. You may go into a different thing in life and go, I feel like this is not going great for me anymore. And my skin's getting dry. The weight's going up. I'm not sleeping. Something's off. Maybe I need to back out of this a little bit. Maybe I'll just fast 12 hours. And then your system comes online again, starts working again. So being able to listen to our bodies and go, I'm going to morph between anything from when I need it, I think is great. So, but meal timing, yeah, I said, listen to your body, couple hours between meals. I've had clients with gut issues that needed 5 hours between meals, and they felt great. I give it to someone else, they're snacky. So it's really, like I said, listening and saying, who am I? I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, like you as someone who does this for a living, you probably have some program in place, like some structure for what you teach, but I would imagine it probably does have to be tailored to the individual.
Yeah, it has to, because like I said, you give 7 people the same meal plan with the similar profile, even with similar profile, and they'll all react differently. So you can't just go, all right, I think you're a this, and just slap it on someone. You got to go, okay, body, give me feedback. When the body gives you feedback, now I must adjust and make changes to make sure it's right. So
I know that all of this requires a tremendous amount of discipline, which for a trainer, it's kind of part of your job to not only motivate and inspire, but also like help them develop the discipline to keep it up. So I was wondering if maybe you can share some tips on how to cultivate discipline. Because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people kind of will admit freely that they lack discipline, right? So how would you approach someone who came to you that way?
Discipline, you know what? When I look at it, I would say the biggest thing we want to work on is habits. You know, there's a reason why most of us will brush our teeth at least a couple days a week, hopefully like every day. But some people will laugh and go, I don't brush my teeth every day. I'm too busy. So, but for most of us, we do these things. We build habits. You know, we turn off the light when we go to bed. Why? Just because it's a habit. You know, there are people whose habit is keeping the light on. So what we try to work on with clients coming in who are struggling with, getting on track and staying successful is helping them create good habits. You know, one habit a week, work on it. What can you do this week? Let's try it and just keep doing it and doing it. And then when you master it, let's move on to another habit. Let's build on this habit now. You know, and that's where I find simply because after a while, it becomes odd if you don't. And I go, like, since this situation of our world has started, I've always wanted to stop running to the grocery store every day. I couldn't stand it. I was like, let's go pick up this. Let's get this. Like, it was like driving me insane. I need to get back to this. I watched my parents grocery shop one day a week. I'm like, I can do this, but I couldn't. And then only when this situation in our world happened, I got on the trek of Thursday mornings, I do groceries. And it took that. And then after 10 weeks of just going on a Thursday, now I'm fine. I can finally do it after 20 some odd years of not being able to grocery shop properly. I had the habit of doing it. Now I can do it. Now I can manipulate here. Maybe I went to a Wednesday today, but creating habits is the biggest thing. I find people do that and they stay on. It feels weird when you don't, you know?
It's kind of a funny thing because a lot of people will be like, I can't change this. I can't do this. But then something will happen and all of a sudden they do, right? Like how often do we hear about someone being diagnosed with a health issue and then making the changes that if they hadn't made a little while, it's a shame that we kind of need that threat almost in order to get us activated. It'd be nice if we could find a way as individuals to just activate that within ourselves without, the direct threat of whatever it is.
It would. That would be ideal for us. That would be the best thing for us. But sometimes it's just how we are. I guess it's how we are with a lot of our world. So
I think a lot of what you do too plays onto something that I try to help people see too, is that change is possible, right? And like a lot of people kind of think like that phrase, I am who I am, I am what I am, as I am, or however they word that. That's true. But do you like it? Like, does it make you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? Is there things about it that bother you? Because if so, then there's ways to change those things, and, developing some new habits, changing your diet, getting some exercise, picking up a better hobby. There's changing the people you hang out with, moving. There's a bunch of different things that, can get you over a hump, so to speak, or get you thinking in a different energy field, right? Mm-hmm. And therefore, and those changes are always possible. It's a real shame that so many people kind of, cut their legs out from underneath themselves by thinking they just can't do anything about what they are.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think most people get up and do spectacular things after tragedy, and that's unfortunate. Like, I'll be the first person to admit, if I hadn't had that reaction, ended up in the hospital, all those things, I wonder if I would be here today. I was always into nutrition. I was into nutrition before that happened. But would it have catapulted me in this direction, into this success, into this demand to tell people? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. So that's, again, like I said, that's part of our nature. Like I said, I thought that the other night, my system all of a sudden was whatever I consider perfect, what I used to consider perfect. And I didn't feel any responses to foods. When I go back and eat them all, I'm like, And that's a thought that I used to have more. And it's funny, I thought about it yesterday. I said, it's interesting because many people are like, I'm going right back. I'm going right in there. I'm going to damage my system, but I'm on a long-term perspective, right? But it's interesting that way. You're right. So.
It's important to still be human and still be able to enjoy life and, eat the cake if you want to be able to eat the cake, which is something I really appreciate about the work you do, because like I see you do, especially like I would say around the holidays there, it's like, okay, guys, you're going to be eating like shit. That's just a fact. And here's some things you can do to, mitigate all of the damage you're about to do, and maybe even prepare your body for it as well as recover for it after. So I think it's really beautiful that you share that with your clients as well, and don't make them feel like, they just got slapped on the hand for doing something naughty.
Yeah, I remember when we started this, I said the biggest reason we want to do this and eat well is so when we eat a little bit off to the side, we don't pay for it. That's what we want. We're doing this so we can do this and not feel like, I want my clients to go off, eat something, eat whatever they want, have a drink, and be like, fine. Don't really feel anything. Weight moved a pound. Who cares? Don't care. Maybe a little bit bloated, gone tomorrow. That's what I want. I want the system strong so that it's like, I could take a couple shots here and there, enjoy it. I'm not taking Imodium, I'm not in the toilet, I'm not anything, I got a hangover, I got nothing. I'm just walking right through it. That's the goal. For me, that's always been the original goal. Is
I
to
think
help
that should be the goal. Yeah, that should be the goal, is to be able to, still be human, still live life, and enjoy the things in life that are good. But that word moderation that we throw around, right? It's an important thing. So on this podcast, I've come up with some code words to avoid censorship. So the thing that's going around our current situation, as you've mentioned it a couple times, I call the joy. You can catch the joy, you can spread the joy. Seems to not matter. Everyone's getting the joy these days. Well, not everyone, but anyways, one solution is a lollipop that they'll give you. And then there's some people who remain sugar-free and just face the joy. So in terms of what we were just talking about, being able to take those shots, if you feel like it, being able to eat that cake, I think we're kind of facing another, talk about a threat, something that's really in our face that shows us that what you're saying about having your body ready to fight, not physically fight, but like ready to perform, can help in a variety of ways. And especially when it comes to the joy.
That's correct. Absolutely. You know what? Great way of putting it, we want to make sure that, as we go through life, we're always going to have challenges, and everything that we do prepares us for that. Some people would like to wait for things to happen and then start preparing, and other people want to prepare ahead of time. I say prepare ahead of time. That's the best thing you can do. So when you do go through challenges, it's not going to be easy, but at least you can get through them. And that's what we want, right? So
how obviously we just had all of our gyms closed, so that's not cool. That kind of pushed us in the opposite direction. I think the same thing, like, even not that restaurant food is ever terribly healthy, but a lot of the sit-in dining places are, significantly more healthy than the takeout places, right? Like the fast foods and the whatnot. So once again, we have, all the sit-down places taken away from us, and we're pushed all the fast foods. So just kind of wondering how, the joy has affected your business over the last couple of years.
We have been very fortunate that, and my business partner bought it. 2018, we looked at each other and decided to take our sector of the business online. So 2018, we've been online, operating our nutrition sector successfully. So it didn't really do anything to us that way, because we were already operating. We'd have to scramble. We had our systems there. It was fine. Even with the mentorship, transformation mentorship, our other business that I co-own, we were able to still help coaches who were suffering, whose businesses were shut down, broken. Hey, this is how you get started. This is how you can help someone. Because a lot of coaches don't know how to get results without training someone. So we're able to show them that, teach them our systems, help their business get started. How do you start marketing? How do you do a session online from a nutrition standpoint? How do you solve issues and help them get better? So that business stayed well too, as well, because there's a lot of coaches who are like, I'm going under unless I learn how to do this. So we've been blessed that way and a position to help many people. So
you're outside of Toronto, right? Now is it?
Yeah, I'm in, our business is in Pickering.
Pickering, okay. Socially, what's it been like there? I mean, Toronto's been pretty insane. There's like too many of us stacked on top of each other. And, I see the like, people fighting over masks, people fighting over lollipops, people fighting over these things, and even pushing each other at social distancing. Some hilarious stories I've witnessed, but how are things in your neck of the woods?
I haven't seen anything too outlandish, to be honest. No matter where I go, people have been pretty. I've only had maybe one place be a little bit about stuff, but for the most part, I smile. I look at people. I happy to see them. I speak to them, and haven't had any real issues. You know what I mean? Like I said, people are tense. Everyone's scared. I think sometimes they need to see someone happy, smiling. Hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. And just whenever I leave the house, I always say this. Help me meet the right people today. I say that every day because in the beginning, all I had was nervousness and, oh my gosh, what's going to happen today? Who am I going to run into? Are we going to argue? Like all I was thinking about it, and doing regular movement was becoming stressful. So I can't live like this. I just need to breathe, have some courage, and go out and just do what I'm doing. And I've met more happy, good to see you people than anything else, besides maybe one or two. So,
as someone who kind of focuses their world into health, how do you feel about everything you're seeing, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, see, and I've said this to so many people. I see health in it with a different set of eyes. In our business, people come in after they've been told they must take birth control to fix their skin. They will have cysts and fibroids forever. They do need medication forever. They don't know why your blood pressure is up. And we help their systems repair and not have those issues. So I've always been coming from a different angle. So whenever I look at things, I'm always like, is it necessary? Are there other ways that we can do this? And I think there are. I really do. And it troubles me because a lot of the world is like, yeah, like if you put on TV Frosted Flakes for breakfast is the way to go, I'm going to eat it. And that's the world we're living in right now. There's no one saying, you know what? Maybe look at your health a little bit. Maybe look at how your life is functioning. If you have a lot of inflammatory markers, you're going to have issues. It's not that you're never going to feel not well or get sick or anything. It's going to happen. But your system's got to run well enough to be able to battle these things. And if our car is always at 300K, not working great, and then we go through a snowstorm in Manitoba, which your car's going to break down. It is. Not because of the snowstorm, but because of your car. So I think for a lot of people, we have to start looking at our car, being that obsessive person with the toothbrush, fixing their car, making sure it's running well. And this is a wake-up call for a lot of people, I think. I think some of the decisions being made are intelligent. I think shutting everything down, I don't think is a great thing for a lot of people mentally, everything else. Even looking at data without getting into a whole heap of things, but I don't think it's great. I don't think it's smart, but I'm also not running Ontario, so.
Right. Unfortunately, I would give you those reins, to be honest. I think you do a better job because the other one just eats butter for breakfast. I mean, no offense.
Right?
Right. I mean, and that's the other part of this too, is like, I'm looking at the world and I'm looking at even all the health officials that are telling people, you need to do this, you need to do that, or else. And it's the or else that's really personally bothering me. I'm a big proponent of, I believe people should be free to make their own choices. Like if there were some type of direct data saying that these choices were hurting this whole of society, then yeah, I would be on your side. Let's do something about this. But there isn't. We've been looking for it for 2 years now. It doesn't exist because it's not there. This is another version of many, many, many things humans have learned how to deal with over a long time. I think it's just the first time we've had social media where everyone can voice their opinion and talk about this. I mean, just imagine all of this going on without social media and everybody really was just waiting on the news at 6 p.m. and 11 p.m., right? That's a different world. So we have to consider that when we're, taking in all of this information and trying to parse through it, because it's an absolute information overload. And, there's a very, very big difference these days between opinion and fact and data and what the government is telling you, right? So, yeah.
And also who's holding the ground. I said, in a lot of these cases, we're the ones holding each other at a certain spot. It's not the government. It's us. We're deciding to, no, you can't, you better do this. We're doing that, the people. The government's just saying, please do this. We're the ones doing it. So that is the biggest thing. We need to step back and go, wait a minute. That's, so. But again, it's like frosted flake for breakfast. If you don't know, you don't know. If you don't dive in, educate, read, learn on your own. I always tell them, don't listen to what I'm saying. If you don't think it's true, go try it. That's why I always guinea pigged ourselves first. I said, try it on yourself. See how you feel. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Take the stuff, go do it. That's why I try to give as much away on our site as possible. Just take this, go, learn it, try it. Because when people start reading and learning and educating themselves in everything, not just nutrition and law, life, everything, they start going, wait a minute. It's not exactly what they said. And that's where we're falling short. We need to start learning and understanding for ourselves. And most people don't want to. They don't want to educate themselves.
We're almost told that like personal experience doesn't matter, that experts know what's right? Like I have many experiences in my life in all kinds of different avenues that go against what I've been taught is right or wrong, right? And just, but they happened, right? So it's impossible to convince me that that didn't happen when it clearly did. I'm not going to convince myself it didn't happen just because the news tells me that it shouldn't happen, right?
For sure.
And in terms of like experimenting on yourself, that's a big thing that people should do. Like I think about this with diet. I mentioned earlier, like going vegetarian for a while. It really didn't work very well for me. It did at first. Like at first, I noticed a lot of positive changes, but I kind of attribute that, especially in hindsight, to getting rid of purging a lot of the toxic stuff that was built up in my system out of it through the elimination style of the diet. And so I went kind of back to, normal, still eating clean, but like, mixing it up, having whatever in there. And I think it was about 2 years ago now. And it was the beginning of 2019. So maybe 3 years, I started carnivore. I tried the carnivore diet because I was hearing a lot about it. I know the Petersons and Michaela, like I remember like the problems that she had and, the fact that it helped her. I was like, wow, that's significant. Maybe I should give this a try. And to be honest, it was one of the greatest things I've ever experienced. Like for myself, I was waking up in the morning when I wanted to, alert, good to go. I was still drinking coffee, didn't really need coffee to like wake up and be ready to go or any of that stuff. I was just up, ready to go. And then when nighttime came, I had solid energy all day long. Like there was no, peaks and valleys. There was no crashes. There was no highs and lows. It was just baseline solid energy all day long. And then at nighttime, when I went to go to sleep, it was the same thing. I'm like, look at my clock. I'm like, oh, it's time to go to sleep. Good night. And I would lay down and I would go to sleep and I would sleep the 8 hours and I'd wake up and it would do that again. And it's funny because that stayed like that. I did like a solid month of that. And then I went out and got like some breakfast sandwiches one morning and ate those and did not sleep that night. So it was just wondering what you do, like what works for you.
Well, right now it's funny. And I've always been a proponent again of, I've been vegan before. And it worked. I watched myself. It worked for a period of time. Looked at my blood profile. Got better. Certain things got better. Then things changed. Estrogen went up. Insulin went this way. Okay, 6-month marker. I guess the cleaning's done. Things are changed. Then so for me right now, I probably do intermittent fasting 1 to 2 days a week. Just a 14-hour. I'm not doing 16 right now, so I'll do about 14 hours, which isn't too crazy. Protein and fats. If I do have carbs, they're probably yam, sweet potato, cassava, parsnips, things like that. That's probably I don't really do rice or anything else. A lot of them just started having organ meats mixed in with some ground. So I found a farm that does like a little bit of muscle meat mixed in with, heart, kidney, tongue, liver. So I've been using that a little bit. So that's my new excitement, because I realized that when I changed some vegetables out, my skin got better. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. It's like, well, I need those nutrients still. Where am I going to get them? So I went looking. Oregon meats have them, so I'm having some of those. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I'd say every 7 to 10 days, I'll probably have a higher carb day. I'll add, probably have more sweet potato, maybe a little bit of rice pasta. I'll probably have it, and then I'll go back down for a couple weeks again. So that's really what I'm doing, So
When I was, 'cause I do work out a bit too, and I found when I was on the carnivore that I did lack, let's say, explosivity. Like I kind of like, that extra push. I definitely lacked that, but there was definitely no like days where I just didn't feel like doing it either. So it was kind of like, I wondered, like, from a training perspective, if maybe that would be a good thing to kind of cycle in, to just get like especially if you were like a fighter and you were training skills for a week, just to make sure that you had that like straight baseline of energy to keep it up through all those rounds and everything. But again, like, I don't think any of these things are rules. I think that, like, there's a lot of things we kind of know will work, but like we've kind of pointed out a few times in this conversation, everyone's different, and what works for you doesn't necessarily work for me. And being able to fine tune that, I think, is important. But it's been nice to see more and more education come out, like see more and more people kind of speaking about it and discussing the ideas, more, say, high profile people. Because it's been kind of, I mean, look at society. It's clearly been something that people have not been paying attention to for way too long, and the level of toxicity is getting pretty bad. Do you do supplementing in any kind of way, or do you try to get everything from food?
No, I'm always supplementing, because it's difficult. You can grow your own food, you can do your own thing, but then there's the soil. So you always have to stay great. Where our soil is now is not where it was 80 years ago, or maybe when our parents or grandparents were kids. It's very different. So we right now, for where I live, we cannot just eat the food. So, and sometimes the things that my system needs help with needs a little bit more focus. For example, if I need more zinc, I can't have, 30, 40 clams a day. I react to some of the stuff in the clams or in the other thing, the shellfish, but I can get zinc. I can take a liquid zinc and drink that, and that helps. So sometimes that's the mitigation we have to look at, right? Yeah, I'd love to have, 12 bars of dark chocolate every night to get the magnesium. But then I find that bothers me. I find it bothers my digestion. I don't feel good, but I can take some mag, and then that'll help me calm my nervous system down, raise GABA, and help me sleep. So that's why I like supplements. It helps us really beam and dial into specific things that I need or you need to help our body kind of like stay in that spot, that sweet spot that we need. So
what about in terms of like hormones when it comes to, our daily lifestyle, I guess, and how that's affecting both estrogen and women? Well, I guess estrogen and testosterone, both in men and women respectively. Do you think that our diet is negatively affecting that, or having a direct effect on that?
Yeah, I would say so, right? Remember, if we aren't looking at the quality of food, I remember switching from regular, just store bought, I'm going in and whatever meat's in them, I'm just going to grab it and eat it and be like, and then switching to grass finished meat and noticing like, this is weird. I actually have to ask my wife, I'm like, be honest, is my body odor different? She's like, you never really had like strong body odor, but it's even less. It's like, what are you wearing deodorant wise? I'm not wearing any. And being like, I think it's the meat, so it's not that meat was bad. I just got better quality. It was affecting things in my body, right? So if I'm eating foods that have, chemicals in it that affect my liver is going to get busy. And, it's like, if you're chasing zombies around in your house, you don't have time to clean up after a party, wash the floors, organize the bookshelf. You don't have any time for that. And that's our liver. It's so busy trying to clean and put out fires from inflammation, all these things. How does it have time for estrogen, progesterone, estradiol, testosterone, putting it in the right places and doing the right things? And that's where we start seeing issues changing. Oh, we're bringing in foreign estrogens. Again, if you have a party and there's 50 zombies and 20 people, that's a different party. But if you have a zombie and you have 4,000 people and 5 zombies, it's still a weird party, but the people will outweigh the zombies. And that's our foreign chemical estrogens and our own. When they start outweighing our own, that's when women have premenstrual issues, they're getting irritable, sad. Those are foreign estrogens. That's not just a thing for having your period. That is a foreign estrogen that's affecting us. In other people, that's depression, that's sadness, testosterone is low. So we want to look at our food, the quality, what's coming in with that food, along with it. That's so important. It's vital.
What about supplementing in that way? I mean, TRT or testosterone replacement therapy has become very popular, and wondering what your thoughts are on that.
I think for the right person, yeah, some people need it. Go get the sad part is when you have someone who's like 21 and they're on TRT. I'm not saying they don't need it, but they went and they need it at 21. That's when it's sad. It's like, you're at the peak. You're not the peak, but you're still somewhere on the top of the mountain. What's going on? How could we have stopped that? Why did your testosterone tank at 21? But I think so. I think if you're getting guidance, someone's watching your blood profile and you're using it in the weight rate, absolutely. That helps your mood. It helps your life, helps your relationships. Go for it. Just don't TRT. I think for a lot of people is, as long as you're being governed, I think that's great by someone who knows what they're doing. Doing it on your own without blood profiles, I think, is dangerous. You're asking for issues. And that's, but if you need it, makes you happy, your body's healthy with it, great. There's a percentage and a portion of people that are all going to reach there where it's like, we can be happier longer if right? So
I think people, when they think of physical health and exercise, they're thinking only of the physical part of it. They're not really thinking at all about the mental health side of it. I have a good friend who runs a business that's called Fitness for Mental Health. And, just in my experience, because I've worked with mental health for a long time, I see a massive improvement in the people who pick up something like exercise, even if it's just walking and listening to an audiobook on a regular basis or something like that, that incorporates some type of movement and exercise along with, something that you enjoy. Maybe it is just the working out and the camaraderie at the gym, or the getting out of the house and having that place that you go, like that routine. But, it really does kind of have a miracle effect on the mind. What can you say about that? There you go.
Definitely, it's not hard for a lot of people. I think it's doing simple things, like you said, like spend time in nature. I realized when the joy began, as you said, I stopped walking in nature. I just stayed in. I just and not out of anything else, but just I don't know, it just affected me. And I was like, don't go anywhere. And not out of fear, just out of compliance, fear of not compliance, all these things, and you just get kids online, not, different things changing. And I was like, wow, walking in nature is such a huge thing for me as a person, as a man, connecting with nature, listening to sounds, smells, visual, all these things that help my nervous system and my stress hormone balance. I'm like, wow, I've robbed myself of that. I need to do that again. Because doing that was amazing just for how my body worked the 4 or 5 days after. So it's I think that's so important for people, whether you're moving with someone, you're out in nature, you're by water, you're something that's really helping. And I think that's a big part of before even TRT is, how do you manage stress hormone? Most of us are getting into TRT because we never managed inflammation, stress hormone, cortisol. We didn't manage it. We didn't manage our adrenals better. So now as a result, we need to. I still think TRT will be there, but I think if we manage stress hormone first, we won't be robbing ourselves of testosterone and then having to go later. We may still need it, but maybe we'll need it 10 years later.
Yeah.
So.
What you were saying there about being out in nature kind of crosses between two different types of health, because there's obviously, I guess all three, because you're walking. So there's the physical, mental health, in that, you're a little bit less stress. The stress comes down, you're a little bit more clear. But there's also the spiritual health part of that, the part of us that is metaphysical or intangible that we, don't really have pure sciences for yet. We're still trying to figure out. But quite obviously, from my experience as a human, has a great deal of effect on us individually. And you mentioned Reiki Healing, which is basically based on that. It's based on the energy part of the human body. A lot of people kind of, they hear that and they're like, oh, that's like witchcraft, that's woo woo, that's nothing. But like, there's a lot of people. I was surprised and I smiled when you told me that you were into that as well, because there are a lot of people I know who, get into the physical body, go really hard, really deep with it, and then at the end of that, they open their eyes to this, like, there has to be more.
Yeah, energetic healing is. I started that because, I had, my knee was hurting once, and I remember a bodybuilder friend of mine, his wife at the time, it's like, she literally walked up to me and was like, "Yeah, your knee's hurting because of your ex, not because of squats." And I was like, "The hell? How did you?" And she wasn't doing Reiki; she was just very intuitive. I'm not going to say I was Reiki, but I was like, "Wow, how did you know that?" She goes, "Well, I teach Reiki. Let me teach you." And I was going to be a dad at the time, and I said, "You know what? I want to know. I was misdiagnosed so much as a child. I don't want my daughter growing up with misdiagnoses. I want to be able to know when she's crying, why is it, what's going on?" And that's really why I started. So if she's crying, I'd pick her up and I'd just sit there and I would just kind of channel energy and see. And I remember seeing different things and going, so that's what it is. Like, sometimes it's not clear. I remember seeing cows and seeing, ventilators and seeing stuff like that, and realizing she was going to be around smoke. She couldn't, smoke wasn't great for her. I was going to say she had asthma. Dairy was the reason she couldn't drink dairy. Those are all things, but I just didn't understand, like, what does this mean? But it came through to me later, and understanding it and going, wow, I'm so grateful that I could do that. And now when I treat my kids, she's 20 now. My other daughter's 16. My youngest is 13, my son, and they love it. They grew up feeling energy, feeling like, I said, what does it feel like? I could feel it, Dad. I felt like almost electricity going through my arms. What was that? I go, that's energy. And it's everywhere. I said, and I'm just channeling it. I'm not like anyone special. Just channeling it through, and your body will heal from itself. And coming from a neuroscience background and seeing that with people and going, hey, that pain in your knee, tell me about your dad. And like, I guess he's passed. And they go, how did you know that? I'm like, you told me that. I know people say it's woo. I'm like, from what I've seen and what people have done for me, there's so much more out there. There's so much more, and we need to be able to open ourselves to heal from that. Because part of why our bodies don't function is from emotional healing that hasn't happened. That's where it starts. The physical is usually secondary. So,
Do you find much kickback from clients when you try to introduce that?
no, because I'm fortunate when clients come to me, they're like, dude, I'm in, I'm all in. I've been everywhere. So we're like the last stop on the way out, So so for us, they're like, yeah, whatever you say. And some people, they may gravitate to other things more than others. They may say, hey, look, do you want to journal? Here's do some breath work. Do you want to do some tapping? What do you want to do? And they'll gravitate to what they are. Do you want to read something? And I try to find something that connects with them. And then, we at some point we were doing, obviously in person, we're doing energy work and things like that. And people would say, like, when they're at the right time, you go, if this speaks to you, by the way, I do energy work, meridian work, acupressure, qigong medicine, whatever you want, I can help your body get through the healing. And when it speaks to you, I'm here. And they'll always at one point call me and go, Ken, I think I need this. So that's how I try to present it. So people are like, they remember, hey, that's what I did for someone. Someone did that for me once. And I was like, oh, I remember they said they could do this. I'm going to go see them at that point. So.
Awesome. Well, obviously you're pretty passionate about the human vessel and that experience, which I love too. I am as well. I love people. That's the whole point of this podcast, really, is to create this library of people, because I think people are magical, and there's way too much fighting amongst ourselves going on these days. So just in like in general, to try and encourage conversation, encourage different ideas and whatnot is wonderful to me. And kind of inspiring people to change is a big thing, because I know I've struggled with it, right? So to help other people find those tools, kind of similar to you. But what other things are you passionate about in life? Like, what are your hobbies? What gets you all fired up?
It's funny. I remember there's a period of time when I looked at my good friend, but again, he's my business partner. I was like, dude, I'm so like driven in the business. I don't think I have anything else besides it. Oh, hopefully my camera's not doing the craps right now, but yeah, I don't have anything beside it. I don't have anything. I don't have a life, and I have to start searching again. I'm a dad, or I run BLE. That's what I do, right? So lately I got, after a while, after leaving martial arts for a while, I got back into it. I started boxing again a couple of years ago. I've never boxed before in my life. So I was always like taekwondo, judo is huge for me, weapons, but I'm like, I don't even know how to box. I'm like, I'm going to take on something new, right? So started doing that, and that's been kind of like a cool thing. My coach, a gentleman named Drew, really good, world class fitness, it's called. So I like that. That's been one of the things I've been getting into. Um, Recently got my hunting license, so I will be venturing out hopefully this year. Not hopefully, but I will venture this year and start hunting simply because I want to be responsible for what meat is coming into my life. It's so easy to go over there, even order it from a sustainable farm place and just have it on my plate. I want to have to go, struggle, find it, kill it, give it reverence for giving me the meat, thank it, bring it home. I have to clean it first, I have to do it and get someone to help me with that, carry it. I want to do those things out of respect for the animal, but that kind of circle and cycle, because I think that's important. We're so, I don't want to say weak, but we're so like disconnected from everything. Everything's just there for us. And I think that's part of why we're in the situations we are in now in the world. We aren't used to any struggle. And I think me bringing that back into my life is I'm just trying to show my kids little ways that they can do that again. I'm trying to do my part, and that's my part I want to do. Um, yeah. So that's my goal. One of the things I've been studying that, working on it, started shooting a bow, so I'm working on that. I have my gun license, but I want to hunt with the bow. So those are some biggest things I'm doing that are important to me. I haven't sprinted since I was almost 20, 30 pounds lighter. I started sprinting again. So, those are just little things that I like. I'm trying to bring back to that connection to myself. So
All right.
that's kind of what's important to me. Those are some hobbies I have. Yeah, just things that are bringing me back to that. I definitely still working on studying my Tai Chi. I'm trying to learn Tai Chi a little bit more. I'm doing Qigong for like 15, 16, 17 years, long time, but I want to get into learning different Tai Chi movements. So I'm just been studying that as well. Um, yeah, those are my things. Obviously I love to cook, I love to read, blah blah blah. But those are the things that are pushing me every day that I want to try and extend out, as well as connect with just more men that are going through, either they're lost, they're not sure where to go, how to be, what is masculinity. I don't even know what that is. I don't even know how to be anymore. Or people who think, yeah, I don't say anything. That's the man's way. We just shut it up, hold it inside, and die first. Like that's where I'm going through this myself, so I can hopefully one day help other men who are going through that alone feeling, that what we've been taught, be tough, don't say anything, that kind of garbage, I call it. So that kind of stuff. So I want to help my son first. I want to help myself first because I have my own stuff, and then help him, and then one day help other men who are going through those things. Bring us together anyway. So
That's beautiful. It's definitely needed. Actually, it was actually a couple of years ago I thought about trying something in that way because, I have my oldest child is transgender male, so they're born genetically female. They live as a male, so it's been a whole different approach for me to have to understand and teach what being a man is, right? Because they had a certain view and then society tells them a different thing, and obviously I have my view and society tells me something else. So
right.
I think it's a very important topic, and I think that this idea, this concept that's kind of popular, this of toxic masculinity, is a symptom of the fact that we don't really know how masculinity is meant to fit into this world anymore, because we're not hunters all of the time, right? There are other aspects. We don't have to be constantly ready for war like we used to be. So there's been so many changes in the world that I think and it's true on the female part too, but I'm a male, you're a male, so this is the conversation we're having is, what it means to be a man. I don't think most men know anymore. Like you said, I don't, and it would be nice if we could kind of put our heads together and come up with some type of definition or maybe framework of what that looks like, so we can stop kind of, because I'm in the same boat as you, man. Like it's, it's a constant thing. It's a daily, it's almost like a trauma, it's like you don't know, like, how am I supposed to behave? If I'm really sweet to this person, does that make me less of a man? Like if this person comes to me and they're just being a douchebag and I don't punch them in the mouth, does that make me less of a man? Like what are the rules? Can I just do what I feel is right and still be a man? Or do I have to follow some type of framework? I don't think we know. And it's an important question.
Yeah, there's so much going on with that. And you said it right. Is that, even, and unfortunately what happens with the young men growing up is then they just look to someone and they follow them. And I won't even get into what media is doing, how media likes to portray everything right now. So they're, leading a lot of young men in an interesting direction based on who their guides are, if they're not getting guidance at home. So it's up to us as, to understand it ourselves first to try to help others, right? And just get a nice spot of where, again, masculine energy is. They said, and masculine energy doesn't always have to be a man. It could just be the masculine energy, usually referring to men, but it could be masculine energy in different people. So that's what we want to try and understand and go, when you are doing this, this is where you want to be. These are some things you want to be able to provide structure, like stop reacting, respond, take a breath in between, be grounded, be that still spot within all chaos. That is really where we're supposed to be in, because yeah, you're right. We're not all providers anymore. Some of us have partners that are making 4 times us. Some of us are maybe not employed. Some of us aren't in aggressive places anymore. So then are we useless? No, we're not. We still provide a lot of things, but just understanding how that plays in our everyday life. This life, as you said, is important. Otherwise we're lost. It's like, oh no, that's wrong. Oh, is that right? Is it, like you said, I don't know. So learning that, I think, is a new life tool for myself and a lot of people. So I'm on that journey now as well. So
excellent. It's very well said. I think it's probably a good place to wrap it up, but tell people where they can find you.
Let's see, if you'll find me probably most on Instagram or TikTok. Same handle, B as in Bob, _ the word elite _ Ken, Ken. You find me on either TikTok or Instagram that way. I'm pretty active there. As well, if you go to Transformation Mentorship, either on Instagram or transformationmentorship.ca, that's my other business. You can find me there as well. So.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for doing this, taking the time to answer these questions for me. It'd be fun to talk to you another time about like maybe where boxing goes and maybe boxing in general, MMA, stuff like that. I'm a big fan. So, but just in general, like, thank you very much for, being an inspiration and being a leader and being a man and putting yourself out there and helping people, better themselves and transform, because inspiration is, in my opinion, one of the greatest things we can kind of give to each other. It's a form of love as far as I am concerned. So thank you very much for spreading love.
Shane, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me on here. For just being able to speak my truth and say my piece. So thank you very much for that, and for this platform for you to connect us all people to come together. So thank you for that.
All right. We'll say goodbye to everybody at home. Later, guys.
Yeah.